And now on the line is Senator Pauline O'Reilly from the Green Party. Pauline is the leader of the Green Party in Shannon Éireann. Pauline, welcome back to Near FM.
Thanks, Darren. It's good to be back.
Okay, I'm talking to you today on Near FM, Pauline, on Thursday the 15th, and on Monday just gone the 12th, there was a big agreement announced by your party leader Eamon Ryan and others from the North Seas Energy Corporation, or NSEC, in relation to the future of renewable energy in the European Union in the upcoming years and indeed for the future in general. This might be a big question, Pauline, but can you give our listeners today on Near FM a bit of a summary of what was this agreement or deal that was agreed earlier on in the week?
Yeah, it's very significant. People may realise how much sea is around Ireland when we go to the beach. We can see it all around us, and it doesn't take us that long, even living in the Midlands. Those who live in the Midlands, it doesn't take very long to get to the coast. But actually, in terms of what, the land mass of Ireland, it's actually 7 times greater the amount of sea that Ireland has as land. So that's a huge potential for us to have offshore renewable wind power. And that's really what we're aiming for as a country, that we would reach 80% of our total energy would actually come from renewables by 2030. And what we've agreed on Monday, with all of those energy ministers getting together from the North Seas, and indeed there were a couple of other countries included in that, which were Belgium and Luxembourg, was that we collectively as countries would make up 85% of the offshore renewable wind for the whole of Europe, and increase to 260 gigawatts by 2030. That's how much wind we've said that we will have. And that's really historic. It's great when it comes to climate action, but it's also really good when it comes to energy security. Because what's happened now over the last year since the Ukraine war started is that Putin is using gas supplies as a weapon of war. And that is what's causing the price increases in Ireland, but right across Europe, because we are reliant on gas as a European Union. So this is really, really important and significant.
Okay, I read Harry McGee's article in the Irish Times on Monday about the story, and apparently under this deal or agreement, Ireland hopes to be able to supply 7 gigawatts of this renewable energy by 2030. You just actually answered my next question, but you're saying there that by 2030 the hope is that 80% of our energy we'll be able to supply it ourselves, will we?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the moment, it's up to nearly 40%, and we would be hoping to get up to 80% by 2030. That 7 gigawatts that was mentioned, that's really important. So originally we had been talking about 5 gigawatts, and now we've increased it to another 2 gigawatts. And that extra 2 gigawatts would be for to be converted into green hydrogen, and that could be used then for storage. So even when you're talking about 2030, there's still some of our electricity that would come from gas and other kind of fossil fuels, but far, far less than now. And so that's the only way really out of both in terms of this fossil fuel energy crisis, but also then in terms of the climate collapse, which both go hand in hand. So 7 gigawatts is huge, but we've already, since we've gone into government, done contracts for 3 gigawatts of that 7 gigawatts. And we've also ramped up now on solar power as well. So there's also a target of 1 gigawatt from solar, and a lot more people are putting solar on their rooftops. And I actually brought forward a bill to end the planning permission for solar panels on community buildings, schools, farms, because up to now people have had to apply for planning permission for even just one solar panel on a school building, which is just, crazy when you think about it. So I think we'll see a ramping up of that as well.
Yeah, I'm not very au fait with all these technical terms like gigawatts and all. I did a Google search last night trying to figure out how big a gigawatt is. So if we're able to supply 7 gigawatts by 2030, if we are, we must currently use about 9 gigawatts a year, do we? Something like that.
It'll be more than that, in fact, because that 7 gigawatts is of offshore renewable, and then you've also got the solar power, and then you've also got onshore you've got onshore wind power as well, and that's what most of our electricity, in terms of the renewables, comes from at the moment, would be onshore. So it's a combination of all of those things. I can't give you an exact figure as to how much we use, but I will say 7 gigawatts is substantial, and there'll be a number of those operating on the east coast, and then there's a couple off the west coast as well, operating wind farms off the coast. So far enough out that it doesn't disturb people. But I think we're going to have to get used to the fact that this is part of our energy security future.
If we could supply most of our energy ourselves by renewable energy, it'd be fantastic, and that's the plan. So it's great news. Okay, Pauline, you touched on it there a second ago, but I've done 5 interviews since last year on Air FM and Raidió and Lifa about the situation with land-based or onshore wind farms in Ireland, and I spoke to people from Cork to Roscommon and Donegal, and they are very unhappy with the whole situation with wind farms planned in their areas. Can you tell me if you agree with land-based wind farms in Ireland, Pauline? Can you tell me, with this announcement of a deal on Monday, whether we will be coming to an end of the growing trend of land-based wind farms in Ireland?
I think one of the problems was there was so little regulation on it. So, new guidelines have been brought in. But when I even look at some near me in Galway, there's one which is the Galway Wind Park, which had no objections really to it, and it would actually power the whole of Galway. That's the amount of wind power that it has. So you can imagine that it is quite large. And then right next to it, there's another wind farm that has a huge amount of objections. And the real reason for that is because of the different approaches from these organisations. So one approached it from really taking on board what the local community said, the problems that they had with original plans and changing it. And they also gave a huge amount back to local communities, to groups that they're funding every year, and they are using it for trails so that people can actually, people can enjoy the space. So I'm actually doing a run there in a few weeks, which is 19 kilometres, and so I think that they can be done well and they can be done really, really badly, and they can also have a really negative impact on things like, flooding. If they're not done correctly, they could increase flooding, or they could have a negative impact on biodiversity. And, so I think they have to be looked at individually. And I think that the problem previously, in a lot of those older ones in particular, was a lack of proper guidelines. It was really based on the company as to how they did it. So I think that we probably will see less because there's more opportunity. If you go back even two years ago, people wouldn't have thought that you could have floating offshore wind farms, and you can now, and that's the real new technology. So I think that we will see less on land for sure. I don't think we'll see an end to it by any means, and people have different views as to whether it's good or bad. I think if there was more community ownership, people would be much more on board with it. So I think that's the approach that we would be looking to follow. But I'll be heading off to Scotland on the ferry towards the end of the end of the week after next, with the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Climate, where we will be visiting an offshore facility, and we'll be visiting a hydrogen facility in Aberdeen, where they're ahead of their field when it comes to offshore renewable wind, to really see how it's done and how it could transfer to Ireland.
Okay, to come towards the end of our interview, Pauline, if your party, the Green Party, are not re-elected to government after whenever it is held next general election over the next couple of years, are you confident that the future Irish governments will show the same commitment to getting new energy deal implemented as Eamon Ryan and your party have in general?
Look, I mean, the reason that we decided to go into government, and it wasn't easy, was the longest period of negotiation ever for a government to try and get as much into the programme for government as we could that was green. And the reason that we went in was because we felt that it was the right thing to do to bring us forward. There was very little investment in the previous 10 years in things like public transport, in childcare, which is one of our ministries as well, and indeed in this whole area of renewables. So we are delivering on those things, and we believe that we need to continue. And I would say that Greens need to be there in order to make that happen, because you can see from the previous 10 years when we weren't, the problems that things stalled. So I think it's important. I think, the largest opposition party in particular really doesn't have policies on climate, and that would be Sinn Féin. Very, very little policy on climate. And when it comes to some of the suggestions this week, they actually would be bailing out large energy companies rather than giving it back to people. So I think that there's either a lack of understanding or just pulling the wool over people's eyes. So one way or the other, I think Greens are important in the mix. But look, we're very much concentrated on what we're doing at the moment and trying to make the most of the time in government. We knew it wouldn't be easy, and it never is to be in government. It would be much easier to stand on the sidelines and point in, but we did it because we felt it was the most responsible thing to do.
Okay, and just to finish up, talking about what we're talking about today, I read 2 or 3 articles on Monday about the deal agreed on Monday, the Dublin Declaration, I believe it's called. But I didn't realise, according to those from reading those articles, that by 2030, 80% of our energy hopefully will be able to produce ourselves. It really is very big news, isn't it? It's fantastic news, isn't it?
It is very big news. It will give us a more energy secure future, and also it's the only way over time. Actually, renewable energy is far cheaper to produce than fossil fuel energy, and so over time it will help with costs as well.
Agus in Sharon Lína tá Marc ó Cathasaigh an teachta dála an gcuainteas glas ó Fort Larga a bharc fáilte dún chlár?
Mágad darn.
sé seo an céadúir dom agaibh Raidió dhéanamh leat a bharc. De bharr seo a bhris leat ar dús beagántaí faoi do chúra in sin dom le a thuil, agus an sin in sin lom Cathasaigh leat mar teachta dála?
Yeah, so it's hafta ó Port Larga misha. So few gwil gwail hafta going a Port Larga nil gwailga go mo hochas no ein rod marshin. Ach fies ima buntors mutor bunskoda riv ma hawkon gudi an doil sha. So Beidir Gurbas shin avur me an chudis mo de an gwail in the tall gum. So yeah, maar dort meid fies ima mutor bunskoda riva an job show. Is tish mahor mate ha trur gas or gum egabalia agus an oirira. It's the var shin, it's the var mohri gasur agus on tauchi atá rumpu shin an fogo Willem she buintach leis an politiocht fui láhar agus mar chud den coint is glas con tauchi nís far of vantamach don trur gasur sa valle.
Yeah, okay. A Boitlan Beidir an méigean sa tauci teachtarás cogat agus agaibh gcuilge dhéanamh Beidir fi cursaí gcuilge, mar tuiscom bhfuil tú ar de bháil de cóciste ireachtas an gcuilge mar bhfuil?
Yeah, Tomer focused shin, yeah.
Yeah, chucky me rash cogat á méigean eile chun caint fi sin. Okay, leanna méid raig fin ábhar inniu. Tá me caint at the Raidió inniu a bharc ar an cúgú lá déag de bhí van fór agus cúpla lá hin ar an lún an dara lá déag dógur do cheannar an tara ar Eamon Ryan go raibh sé tar éis teacht ar comhaontú Eorpach maidir lenar sa láthair fuinneamh don todhchaí. Is dul chun cinn anna suntasach é seo ceapan an féidir do rá dar lucht éisteachta a raidió aniu a bharc. Cad é an nuach seo a dógar éimean Ryan ar an lún agus faoin tionchar a bheith le heachtas?
Well, vi criniu ag an ara Ryan le Ari ella, Ari funineh ella fud na horpa agus fud túskart orpa go háirithe agus tá si é díúisteach ginúnt letrachas muir. So funineh ina nuite an tá an resource atá goin mar tír tá sé olmhór tá an seanfach san deis ann dúintse bheith chun cín san airnáil nua seo chun an ginúnt funineh muir na bhfuil na gluiche a chur muir amach sa farige is féidir tá deis olmhór ag an tír seo bheith chun cín san airnáil nua sin. So de bhór sin bhí criniú a ggé leis na airí eile ón túisceart orfach agus léirigh siad an ulmhín atá ag na tíortha sin an sais nua ginúnt electrical sin a chur isteach na sa láthair a chur i gcrích an sin onas go méid in an funineh sin ina nuite funineh nachhfuil éon astíochtaí a gcuint leis é sin a orbert as seo amach go dtí 25 an blion 25.
Rinne aglah as béle níos luúthe inniu ar sonnéir a bheim le a códlacathe Pauline O'Reilly ón Shannon agus dúirt sílumm san aglah sin gur bé an spruch suas go dtí blion 20 sa trocha go méid ardéir éire in an 8 faoin gcéad dar funineh a bheith bunathe ar letrachas funineh inniuthe is deasca seo an gcéann sé seo mar chun is go bheith deire ag teacht ar an líon fermacha gaotha talún sa todhchaí in éireann?
No, tá mé fósaigh bracamór ar an funineh sin tá sé bhhad níos fusa mún na gaotha a chur ar an talún na tá sé bhhad níos dacra ó chéamh na pobl atá ann. So faoi láthair tá sé deachar éon láthair nua a chur ar fáil ó chéamh mul na gaotha a chur ar talamh ach leis sin tá sé bhhad níos fearr más féidir mátá an technolíocht da tá sé bhhad níos fearr na mul na gaotha sin a chur amach ón cósta san áige bín an gaotha i bhhad níos láidre amach an sin bín kind of gaotha seasamhach amach an sin so tá sé bhhad níos fearr ó chéamh pobl ó chéamh na ceantar tuatha agus ó chéamh an ginúnt mátá na mul na gaotha sin agus mátá an technolíocht ann chun na mul na gaotha sin a chur amach ón cósta beidir go bhfuil siad ag seasamh ar leaban na farige nó beidir go bhfuil siad ar an bharige héan ach tá sé bhhad níos fearr ó héamh mar dúirt mé ginúnt electrachas de agus ó héamh cuasaí pobl freisin.
Tá roiint aglah raidió déanta gom le cúpla bliana nuas na caint le daoine grúpaí facasíochta atá náid fermathe gaotha ina pobl féin agus a roiint pobl mar sólit tá na tionscanmh seo anna chun spóireach. Cad é do thóir an maidir leis na fermacha gaotha talún go ginearálta in éireann Marc?
Well, is gádóibh Albert tá is a gon go léir an dúchláán atá roin ó héamh ahrú a roide agus cahamí dulang leis an dúchláán olmhór sin tá sé sin eice gin ag nach cúna den da an tower seo mar zolde de lucht éisteachta tá tríantán den Pakistan fui iske fui láhar Dave Ellers den scale nu raibh galoor iske nu raibh galoor bosteach sa ranks mar hapla nó sa Gearmáin tá ánacha an level is ísle a chunig mar riamh. So tá don túslan sin ahrú aráide tá sé anna inis. Níl mi de kaint níos mó faoin tauchaí tá dúchlan sin tar éis teacht cuain inis láithreacht agus caithimí dul an gleicla sin. So is cuid dó sin an ginúnt electricus ina nuite sé aber sé sin solar PV nó na mul na goise nó payrod mar sin. So caithimí de dhéanamh sa slí atá is fearr de muinte tuathe ag go háirithe agus mar dúirte bíonn sé conspóideach nuair chun tú fermne goithe in áitchaí tá sé sin feici goin híos Bord Láirge agus i gcailteach na néise freisin go bhfuil na mul na goithe sin conspóideach. So caithimí dul an raig lámhin lá leis na pobl sin ach de réir mothúimseir a réanos caithimíd gníomhú inis ó heh an dúchlan olmhór atá roin leis an ahrú aráide.
Okay, kom brathnú an picture umláin a bharc cílín an coin tú seo a fógriach an lún go mé riamh nó ag blian fés a trocha 8 fingé dar fuineh an éan bunathe an tionscanmh seo an coin tú seo. An bhfuil tú dóchasach go méid dearad le broslí iontaise don chuid is mó in éan leis sin sa blianta tá amachrán?
Well, bhain dóchasach ach ní éann sé sin ará go méid sé first nó go méid sé éasca. Aithníam an levéal dúchlan atá roin ó heh broslade ó heh ar gcuirs úmper agus taistilde ó heh talvíocht is only faibanna agus dúchláin atá roin le réitú. Ach caithimí búla reigla sin ag an bhainte seo tá is ag gach aine céir atá roin ó heh ahrú aráide agus cé chud don séireach is an meid sé mána dhéanaan méid na ahrú seo. Chun just slí níos fearr a áil chun marachtáil an downmór seo an downmór atá a gcuine go léir ach an downmór atá rile imhil faoi láthair a réir rudí atá á dhéanamh ag an cinenne déanaar. So ní bheidh sé éasca níl aine ará go méid sé éasca ach ag an buinte seo ceapan go aontaíonn gachaine go gahamíd dulling leis an dúchláin seo ó heh ahrú aráide.